Hello to everybody who hangs up at the perfect time. It's Beautiful Anonymous. 1 hour, one phone call, no names, no holds barred.
I'd rather go one-on-one. I think it'll be more fun, and I'll get to know you, and you'll get to know me.
Hi, everybody. Chris Gethard here. If you're not into the intro, I do just want to let you know this one does have talk of self-harm and addiction. It kind of blindsides you. So if those are things you're not ready to hear, just keep that in mind. Otherwise, you're going to want to skip about 7 minutes ahead. That should put you right towards the beginning of the phone call. Hi, everybody. Chris Gethard here, and welcome to another episode of Beautiful Anonymous. I'm recording this intro on Friday, September 27th. You are hearing it on Tuesday, October 1st, I believe. I believe it's the 1st. And I know that because I'm going on a little East Coast tour. If you're in the States, October 2nd, I'll be in Somerville, Massachusetts. October 3rd, Garwood, New Jersey. That one is just about sold out as of Friday. If there are tickets left on Thursday, I'm surprised, but try to grab them. Baltimore on October 4th at my beloved Auto Bar. Philly, October 5th. Hamden, Connecticut, October 6th. Then a really, really important show to me, Anaheim, California, October 10th at the Anaheim Convention Center. I'm putting on a comedy show as part of the Wellness Together annual conference. This is, of course, the nonprofit that employs me to organize artist outreach programming. Laughing Together has been going so amazing in our first year. Once we're done with November, we will have taught over 5,000 people in our first year, all on how to use comedy as a tool to connect and communicate with each other, especially in school environments. It's been lovely. Punchup.live/Chris Gethard for all of those. And beautifulanonymous.com for extra time with each caller. And I joke about it. In the call, I joke about how I'm going to do some show plugs, and then I'll do the trigger warnings, because the caller says, I did not anticipate that this one will need so many trigger warnings. But it does. It does. There is talk of addiction. There's talk of self-harm. Gets really real. Gets very raw. Wanted to put it out there. Also, want to put out there that the caller expresses a lot of feelings of loneliness in what she's talking about. And I said immediately, no, the comments, particularly that community over in our Facebook group, which is so beautifully relaxed, you're going to hear you're not alone, that there's specific things you're bringing up where other people go, I promise you I've done that too, or my version of it. So I'm not encouraging anybody to do that, but I'm also eternally grateful for a community that sometimes hears hard stories. And you're going to listen to a lot of this call. You're going to go, what the hell is he talking about? Because I don't think the caller was totally certain of how this was going to get brought up or to what degree. And I just feel really lucky. I feel so lucky as someone who makes things to know that not only do I get to make things where people feel comfortable opening up, but where I have real faith in the community that finds the show to be compassionate and kind in their reactions to it as well. Because not everybody would describe the internet as compassionate and kind. But I look at it at the Beautiful Anonymous Facebook community makes me laugh so hard. I mean, after last week's episode, there are multiple people talking about how, yes, they have seen someone throw up on the Long Island Railroad. We've had people saying that they need to get to Donovan's for burgers because their maiden name is Donovan. There was a whole stretch a couple episodes ago where people were debating the best type of jelly to pair with peanut butter. Like, these are loving, sweet people who are ready to laugh, but also people who are ready to support other members of this community. And this week, that's going to be necessary. I call upon this community to be compassionate and kind, because you're going to hear someone who's in a really raw place. I'll also just put out there the episode, A Series of Charming Distractions, some of the jellies you people listed. I mean, blackberry, sure, I get that. Apricot? Crystal. Apricot jam is the best type of jam. What are we doing? So many people. James says apple jelly and crunchy peanut butter, and that's a hill I die on. That's a wild hill. Apple jelly and crunchy peanut butter. Melina said, I grew up in a Mexican household and PB&Js were always made with strawberry preserves. I did not try grape jelly until college. Got another vote for apple jelly. Now, apple jelly was my favorite in my younger days. Now love to get jalapeno raspberry jam. What is going on? Someone says, no one in favor of orange marmalade? No, of course no one's. The amount of debate in these, there's a guy named Tim who left like an actual essay length reaction to the best type of jelly. Grape jelly is a classic. Peanut butter and grape on soft white bread is perfect. Grape jelly inside a sausage biscuit, wonderful breakfast sandwich enhancer, but the berry jams are superior. Strawberry, raspberry, blackberry, even mixed berry brings so much to the party. I know Chris loves Cracker Barrel, so it's true. I do love Cracker Barrel. I know he's seen those little jam spreads that come with the biscuits. Those little things contain top-tier jam. Burger King does have the Impossible Burger, so I get why he goes there. Let's give him a pass on that one. What is up? All the Burger King hate. And those were not the only comments about different types of jams. So sometimes it's weeks like that. Sometimes it's weeks like this. You're going to hear the caller. I don't want to give too much away, but you're going to hear somebody and you're never going to guess where it goes. And then we're going to talk about how isolating it can feel to be a person who goes, yeah, people don't guess this about me. So in the first chunk of the call, you're going to hear it's pretty light, pretty funny, pretty chit-chatty. We've kind of been in a chit-chatty groove lately, and I thought it was settling in there. And then it takes a turn where it gets very serious, and we talk about what's it like not just to deal with demons, but to be a person cut from a cloth where other people can't even believe you have those demons. And we get into it. If you're somebody who has dealt with addiction and self-harm, this might not be the one for you, but I encourage everybody to listen to it. This caller's so honest. I say it during the call. I want to say it right now as well. I'm not a trained therapist. I'm not a trained counselor. I am not someone who is trained on mediation involving addiction of any sort. What I am is just someone who tries to be a really active listener and a compassionate voice. And in this case, I also happen to be someone who has dealt with some addictions over the years and wanted to just do my best to connect. So I tried. And I probably did a million things wrong. And if I did, I do apologize for that. But I will not apologize for trying to connect with somebody who feels lonely during a tough time. Anyway, I've teased it enough. Listen to the call. I think it's a classic. And I think we've got the type of compassionate, kind community that can help situations and not hurt them. And man, am I so thankful for that. Enjoy the call.
Thank you for calling Beautiful Anonymous. A beeping noise will indicate when you are on the show with the host.
Hello?
Hi. I think you know what I'm going to ask next. Is this Chris?
There we go. You nailed it. I was trying to think of a funny line. I was trying to figure out how to get in there, but you were too quick for me.
Oh, gotcha. Really weird. Like, there was just, okay, I have a bunch of talking points, but one talking point was going to be about my pet ducks. I have 5 ducks, and I just had to run out into my backyard because there's a bald eagle that came and tried to take one of them, and I'm not lying about that. That was
Just now,
like right before I like literally was like at my screen door looking outside in the backyard, and then my ducks were all laying down for a nap. I wasn't going to talk about them first, but now they're awake and they all ran to, we have a backyard pond. And so they all just scrambled and like went straight to the pond, which is dumb of them because they were under the picnic table where they would have been safe if they just stayed there. But
40 seconds into the
that was
phone call,
scary.
you tell me you just recently stopped a bald eagle from taking your pet ducks. 40 seconds in.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Oh my
I
gosh.
see now.
Okay. My heart rate was elevated, and now
Buckle
it's
up.
even more.
What do you do to stop a bald eagle?
Well,
How does one thwart a bald eagle?
you just run out, just like wave your arms, and I was yelling fuck, 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 and like, just being loud. And sorry, Sally, but can you hear my ducks right now?
Yeah, I can hear
Hey
your
guys.
ducks right now. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm having one of those.
So this isn't their first. This is not their first podcast debut.
Excuse me?
They were also on Dr. Game Show at one point.
Oh, my dear friend Joe Firestone's show.
Yes. Yeah. Well, anyway, so okay, let me just breathe a little bit.
Why you got so many ducks?
That was wild. Well, my husband and I originally got them because we have like almost a half acre of property, and so we wanted a little homestead, and we thought like, yeah, we'll get chickens or ducks, and then we'll eat their eggs, and like maybe eventually when they get older, we'll eat them too, but then they turned into pets, and we turned into vegans as well. So
you don't even eat the eggs, you just got all the babies. You got all the baby ducks.
Yeah, so we don't let them incubate the eggs. So they're fertilized eggs, but like we give the eggs away. And so you can eat them just like chicken eggs. So, but we started learning about, the animal ag industry and like how in order to get eggs, you need like to have, 50% of the eggs that are hatched are males. What happens to the males? They usually get cold, turned into dog food. And so it's like literally throwing baby chickens who are males into a wood chipper. And that was pretty dark, but yeah, so pretty inhumane. So we just made it, our decision to, it's not great. So yeah, but so we have ducks now, and like that was, we got ducks before we really did our research on like what that industry looks like. So now,
how long did you have ducks before you realized you live in an area where bald eagles attack the ducks?
We've known, because I live in Oregon, and I live really close to the Willamette River, and so we have bald eagles that fly over like all the time, but we didn't realize that, because our ducks are pretty big, like they're like 4 pounds each, so they're not like the ducks you'll see like at a lake, like the mallard ducks. They're maybe like twice the size, if not bigger than that. So we didn't think it'd be a huge issue, but like this doesn't happen very often. So I'm surprised that it happened just as I was getting onto the call. I don't know.
So not at all what you were even anticipating talking about. It was just an actual random attack unfolded because Andrew told me what a caller. I ran downstairs, peed, grabbed myself a drink from the garage fridge, and by the time I got up here, a bald eagle had attacked your ducks.
Attempted, yeah. So it flew like pretty close to them, and they all just like beelined it to the pond. Which again is like, ducks, that's not smart. Don't do that again.
Yeah.
Stay under the table.
Yeah.
Silly ducks. So anyway, also like all of the idioms that you can think about ducks are true. And I wondered like how many idioms could you name about ducks? Like water off a duck's back, or
like idiom meaning like a popular phrase.
Yeah,
water off a duck's back. You nailed that one. Let's see. I'm
Yep.
not gonna lie, not too many duck-related idioms pop into my head when challenged.
Okay.
A lucky duck. A lucky duck. The phrase "lucky duck."
Lucky duck. That would be just now with me. I guess the bald eagle that came down, and I was right there to like scared off.
Mhm.
This is ridiculous.
I do appreciate that you assumed I'd have multiple duck idiom. Sitting duck? Someone's a sitting duck?
Yes, sitting ducks. That's true. Ducks in a row.
Like a duck to water?
Like a duck to water. That's true too. Yep. Actually, I think that's all I have. So you did pretty good.
This call's all, I gotta say, I'm liking it. Already weird.
Okay.
But you know that, right?
Yeah. I'm probably, my call's probably gonna be pretty weird and
Yeah. What else do you
jumping
want to talk
around
about besides
a
ducks?
bunch.
What are we talking about here?
Oh, yeah. Let's see. I think I just have to put this out there. Just one more thing about ducks is that I hate raccoons.
Okay.
Because raccoons have killed 2 of my ducks. And so I'm not a fan of raccoons when they come up on this show. It's a little triggering for me, but
Well, listen,
anyway.
I never expected this. But as we all know, if you are a longtime listener to Beautiful Anonymous, you're not allowed to sit on the sidelines when it comes to the raccoon debate. We've had people who have literally been jogging in their neighborhoods and been stalked and attacked by raccoons. We've had other people call up and say, that's raccoon slander. I have a pet raccoon that lives in my house with my children and my family. Nobody, I hate to live in a world where things have to be this absolutist, but when it comes to Beautiful Anonymous, if you listen to our show, you don't get to sit on the sidelines anymore. You pick a side. You have to be Team Raccoon or
Right.
anti-Team Raccoon. And it sounds like you are firmly
Yeah.
anti-Team Raccoon, but this has been going on for years with this show. You could actually argue that in some ways, if you've listened from the beginning, Beautiful Anonymous might be a podcast about raccoons deep down.
Secretly, yeah. So,
Yeah.
and I've been listening since like episode 1. Yeah.
So you know,
I'm glad
you know
to
what
be
I'm
on
saying. It's a podcast about raccoons, and then occasionally we talk to people too.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. So, I kind of have a bone to pick with you.
Okay, I'm listening. I can take the heat. Let's pause there. This is a good point to pause because we're still, you're not going to imagine where this one's going. Anyway, we'll be right back. Very, very glad to tell you about a service that I use and that sadly I need. It's called Delete Me, and I'm telling you, you've heard it in my voice when you've heard me talk about them on the show before. They are really setting the bar in their world, and sadly, I have needed their services, and they have stepped up for me and my family, and it is with great pride that I tell you I'm going off book and ignoring the written copy to tell you that Delete Me keeps you safer. They keep you feeling more secure in the world. Because we all know there's identity theft out there. There's people harassing, stalking, doxing. The internet has a lot of swirling information out there. It can be very dangerous for your private information to wind up in other people's hands. And if you poke around a little bit, you will be stunned to see how much of your personal data can be found on the internet. There's these sites, they're called data brokers. They gather up your address, your phone number, past addresses you've lived at, addresses of your family members. They make it really easy for you to get harassed and for this info to be abused. And they're doing it for profit, okay? It's a commodity to them. They're profiting off of your data, and they sell your info to anybody on the web. And you can imagine there's people out there with bad intentions trying to break into bank accounts. There's people out there trying to stalk. There's people out there trying to harass. Don't let them. Protect your privacy with Delete Me. I live very publicly. I have talked a lot about things like mental health along the way. I've built communities, and sadly, I've had a few situations where I have felt like I needed to draw some very clear, strict boundaries because things were not totally safe. It's a huge bummer and creates a lot of fear, especially with a family. And knowing that Delete Me is out there is huge. They helped me personally get my data off the internet, and it helps you avoid the consequences, the real world consequences that that data being out there. Because I'm telling you, I used another service in this realm and thought they were doing a good job. I used Delete Me. Delete Me has found dozens of places that the other services missed. That's why I personally can vouch for you and let you know they are crushing it. And I'm telling you, if there's specific information you want protected, you can let them know about that. Their experts will get on it. They send you regular personalized privacy reports, shows you where they found info, when they got it removed, and they stay on the case. It's not just a one-time service. They have sent me reports that showed that some of these sites tried to add my info back in and that they relentlessly go in and pull it back down. It's really, really a quality service that helps keep your info safe, helps keep your family safe. Take control of your data, keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our listeners, you get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/beautiful. Use the promo code beautiful at checkout. The only way to get that 20% off is go to joindeleteme.com/beautiful. Enter the code beautiful at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/beautiful. The code is beautiful. They did not ask me to say this part. This one, to me, it's a no-brainer. Protect your info. Get out there, joindeleteme.com/beautiful. The code is beautiful. Thanks so much to all of our advertisers. Now let's get back to the phone call.
I kind of have a bone to pick with you.
Okay, I'm listening. I can take the heat.
Okay. This is about your other podcast, New Jersey is the World, where there's one episode where you guys ranked all of the states.
Yeah. I'm feeling I might get in trouble for that one.
Yeah, so you gave Oregon, I think, like a B-.
I did personally?
I think you and your co-host did. Like, collectively, you guys were like, yeah, it's a B-.
Well,
and
I think Oregon's beautiful.
A+.
I love it. I mean, I've had great times. Obviously, Portland is where a lot of the artists wind up. But I've driven all over the Pacific Northwest in Oregon. I think if anything, and I don't remember encyclopedically what we talked about, there might have been a little bit of a demerit because there's a lot of stories that when you get out to Western Oregon, that it starts to merge into like a little bit of like a militia vibe, and that's very intimidating.
Sure. Yeah.
But I would be shocked if I could be wrong. If the words Oregon is a B- came out of my mouth, I'd be shocked because I've had great times there. Although I don't put it past me to just say some shit in the moment and then never think about it again, only to be called out later, at which point I backtrack. That could also be happening. But I do think Oregon's really lovely. I've had good times all over. Eugene, Oregon. One of the weirdest shows of my life was in Eugene, Oregon.
Nice. What happened there?
Well, this was many, many years ago. I was touring with the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater. They used to send out little touring companies, and we did a show. And the promoter said, "Oh, there's a local comedian who's going to open up the show." And we said, "All right, that sounds cool." And everyone I've told this story to who has lived in Eugene cuts me off and knows who I'm talking about. I always tell them the guy who opened the show wound up being an older, unhoused guy who showed up on a bike with rubber chickens, then did a bunch of literal like rubber chicken jokes. And usually by now, anyone who lives in Eugene and people listening from Eugene have already figured it out. People will cut me off and go, "Oh, Frog. It was Frog." I go, "Yes, he went by the name of Frog." And then he did the show. And then I always go, and then when he was done, he like didn't stick around and watch. He just got on his bike and they're like, "Yeah, and he rode it into the woods, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he just rode a 10-speed bike right into the woods." And they're like, "Yeah, that's
off into
where
the
he
woods."
lives." Yeah. There's this guy named Frog that everybody knows who lives in the woods. He opened a show for me in Eugene, Oregon.
But that sounds about right for Eugene.
Yeah. But I've had some great times there. You do know once it starts to get out towards that Idaho border, though, that's where you get the rumors of a lot of the militias, a lot of white power groups, and I don't prescribe to the cliches about any place. But I will say that the persistence of those stories, probably not an A plus, but Oregon's pretty
Okay,
pretty
got
great. Pretty great.
And I think this podcast episode is coming back to me now. And I think that is why you guys decided on a B minus.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd knock it all the way down to a B minus, although white supremacist groups are a good reason to get docked a full letter grade, if you ask me.
You're not wrong. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there's like back in like I think 2016, there's that whole like militia group that took over one of the like national monuments like in Eastern Oregon now here. Right. Yeah. And that was pretty wild. And someone ended up dying, like someone got killed.
Yeah, it's crazy. Gets really intense with that stuff out there. And I get people who are like, I just want the government to leave me alone. But it seems like it seems like that gets tangled up with all sorts of other thoughts that are not as cut and dry nor as ethically virtuous as that.
Yeah. It seems like they want them to be left alone, but then it seems like they're infringing on other people's rights as well. So
you said it.
It's
you said it.
Yeah. That's
Did you grow up in Oregon?
That. Yep. Okay. I did not. No, I grew up in California.
How'd you wind up in Oregon?
It's kind of a long story. So in high school, my family and I moved to Colorado. I've lived in Colorado as well, like the Denver area. And then I went to grad school in Wisconsin. And then in Wisconsin, after grad school, I got like my quote unquote dream job here in Oregon, which is like, I could have like moved back to California for a similar job. I got like offered 2 jobs. One was in like the Sacramento area in California, and the other was up here in Oregon. And I was like, oh, I love Oregon. It's really great up here. Much nicer than California.
One thing I noticed, and I want to hear about why you say that, but I also do notice, it seems to me like your choice of places that are living have some culture, like California, Colorado, Oregon. I go, all right, you live in places where people historically like to smoke weed. But then Wisconsin, a little bit of a cultural outlier, right into the Midwest with you, right?
Yeah. And I loved Wisconsin though. And I actually do not like cannabis. Like it doesn't sit well with my body. Like when I have partaken in it, but when I smoke it, like I will get violent coughing fits and then I end up throwing up. And so I can't ingest it, via smoke, or vaping or anything like that. And then edibles, for some reason, just make me go to sleep right away and feel super loopy. And so I don't like how that makes me feel. So I actually don't partake in cannabis.
I wish edibles made me go to sleep right away. Anytime I try to dab, smoke, I can't handle smoke. I have like a whole phobia about smoke. I have my whole life, which is good. That's a good, healthy thing. But I've dabbled with every 3 or 4 years. Somebody will be like, oh, here's an edible. And I'm like, all right. And I'll try it. And then I realize for me, it's the sleep is good eventually. But first, there's going to be a long stretch where I eat every single thing I can get my hands on. And then a stretch where I feel like someone's just like pinning me down to the floor and not allowing me to move. And the physical intensity of it drives me to the brink of panic.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's similar to what I experience. Like I get like super anxious on cannabis, especially edibles, and it's not fun for me.
But the point still stands that you've generally lived in some of the more hippy-dippy reputation states in this union of ours.
Yeah. Yep.
How was Wisconsin?
Not wrong.
How was Wisconsin? That's different, right?
Yeah, so I lived in Madison.
Love Madison.
And yes, Madison is magical. Like it's an amazing city. Like even in the winter when it's like, I lived in Wisconsin. Like, do you remember when we had the polar vortex? That was like around 20, 12 or something like that, like super cold. And like I'd walk to school. And it was like -40 out, and I was just bundled up walking to class.
For listeners who are not aware, explain to them the magic of Madison, because I would agree, having passed through there, it's a great town.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, this is like super nostalgic. Okay, so one, it's the Midwest, so everyone's like super nice. Two, Madison is like a super chill city, so not only are people super nice, but they're just like so open and like accepting of a lot of people and like politically active, and those are like values that I hold tight to my heart. But then also like Madison is like actually like an isthmus between like two big lakes. And so it's this like teeny tiny stretch of like the capital city of Wisconsin. But then it's also like it bleeds into like the university, and University of Wisconsin-Madison is like a huge school, right? There's like 45,000 or 50,000 undergrads. There's like, when I was there were like 20,000 graduate students. And there's like, so it's just like super vibrant with like academic life, but then also it's like nicely balanced with like city life, where like it's not one of those schools where you like feel like the town is just, based off of a university. It's a good balance of both, where like you could go to a bar and like interact with like local people who actually live there and have, jobs, or not just students. And then also like it gets super cold, and it's like in the winter, but then when you go into springtime, everything like comes to life. Everything gets so green, and like everyone is like out and about around the city, and there's like a ton of biking, and there's just this vibrancy that like radiates like in like around like the end of May, early June, where everything comes to life. Summers are miserable, like it's super humid and hot, like it'll be like 80%, 85% humidity and 90 degrees outside, but like for some reason everyone's still outside at the University of Wisconsin like terrace. Like they have this huge like the Union Terrace, the main student hall is like on the Lake Mendota. It's like right on the edge of this giant lake, and there are like sailboats out there. There's like everyone's out and drinking beer and like enjoying just life. And like if you're there late enough at night, you can like go skinny dipping off of one of the piers, and I've done that in the past, and it's like super, I don't know, super fun. Like a city of extremes, I feel like.
Love that. A city of extremes. Yeah. That's a good tagline for a city.
Yeah.
Now, I have a bone to pick with you.
Oh, no. Okay.
Because before you said you had a bone to pick with me, and then Andrea, who is really good at being Andrea and producing this show.
At everything. She's amazing.
Crushes it. Went and, no joke, called up that episode of New Jersey is the World and found the Wisconsin part and transcribed what I said while you and I were talking.
Okay.
So you call up, and you got everybody who listens to Beautiful Anonymous in Oregon who does not listen to New Jersey is the World mad because I apparently was dismissive of Oregon and gave it a B-. Here's what I actually said. Okay. Andrea honestly transcribed it. Here's what was said. My actual quote: I was once walking in Portland and saw a van. This is also true. I remember this so vividly. I was once walking in Portland and saw a van skid to a halt, and a bunch of men ran up to the side of the van and then ran away, and then the van peeled out. And I'm like, as long as I resist the urge to be like, what the fuck was that all about? Portland's amazing. It's fucking amazing. As long as you never ask questions about anything that you see, then Portland is great. but the rest of Oregon is both beautiful and at times concerning. Andrea noted that I then also noted that it's cool that the strip clubs are unionized and that the donuts are good.
Yeah.
Oh, those are all compliment. I mean, Portland is a city where you see some weird shit and you just got to keep moving.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep,
Keep
that's
moving.
true. There's also a vegan strip club in Portland, which I have not been to, but
What makes it vegan? The nature of
they just
they serve
no,
food and the
they
food's
serve
all vegan?
vegan food. Yeah.
Whoa.
So, but that's
Yeah. Unionized strip clubs. Who's got a problem with that?
yeah, seriously. And I think Portland like has the most. You might have to fact check me on this. The most strip clubs per capita for like a city in the U.S.
That's great.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's true. But yeah, good sex culture up in Portland.
Good sex culture. Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. But I'm out here giving it compliments, complimenting the strip club unionization rules,
Okay.
the donuts,
Okay.
saying that it's both beautiful and concerning. And then
Fair. Yeah.
Andrew's going to try. Oh, it was. Oh, I said overall, the state might get a B minus, but Portland as a city is a definite A.
Okay.
Which is maybe a little dismissive.
Yeah.
That's maybe a little dismissive.
Yeah.
I would say A minus, B plus sounds more accurate.
Okay.
Anyway. Okay.
Have you been like hiking or like out into the wilderness in Oregon, or have you only been into like the cities on tour?
I've been. One of my very dear friends grew up in Portland. His parents still live there, and I've stayed with them at times when passing through. And in the course of that, have driven to do some hikes where it's amazing, where you're just like, oh, yeah, let's drive like 20 minutes from the city. And all of a sudden, you can climb up a natural staircase on the side of a cliff and see a giant, gorgeous waterfall. Like I've seen
Did you
stuff
go to
like that.
Multnomah Falls? Was it that one?
That sounds right. It was. I mean, this was over 10 years
like
ago.
a giant waterfall that's like on a weird highway.
Yes, it's right on the highway. You pull off the highway, and there's a waterfall right there. Beautiful, gorgeous.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, that one's really cool. Yeah, but it's like it really is like just 20 minutes from like downtown Portland. You can just
it's crazy.
Quickly drive over. But,
yeah,
I asked because like Oregon has some beautiful landscape. Like it's so beautiful.
It truly is.
Yeah.
You get no argument from me. We're 30. We are close to 30 minutes into this episode, and we've largely chit-chatted about Oregon, Wisconsin, ducks, and eagles.
Okay. Well, we can switch gears if you want. I have other talking points.
Whatever you want. I'll follow you wherever you want to go, my friend.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so I went to grad school. Let me talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. What did you study?
I studied plant pathology, so like the study of plant diseases, because plants get sick too.
Oh, you don't have to tell me. I'm married to an environmentalist, and if there's one thing I know a lot about right now, it's the great ash borer. This ash borer thing is very sad.
The emerald ash borer.
The emerald ash borer. Enjoy your ash trees while you got them, everybody, because they're probably coming down in the next few years. They're already starting to come down, but they're probably going to be extinct. And what a sad thing.
Yeah, it's super sad because there used to be like ash trees like all over, like especially the East Coast, and they're all just getting destroyed by like over the past like 20 years. So it's like this species of tree that like is
mighty ash
just going to be extinct. Yeah. And actually what's interesting is that like golf courses actually have a lot of like tree diversity because golf courses like put so much money into like their horticulture, like maintenance of their courses. So if you go to golf courses, like you might be able to see some ash trees like in your area that have been like preserved, and like they're probably like sprayed with like a ton of pesticides, but like that's how you like treated. That's how you keep
how you save an ash. In my town, the town has started taking down all the ashes because they're no longer stable enough, and they take out the power lines all the time.
Yeah. Yep.
The mighty ash.
That's
Where are
really
we
sad.
at? Here's other things I know about. Although it sounds like you're more into the pathology, which is actual plant diseases. How do we feel about our fight against invasive species? Can we win, or is there no hope? Is Japanese knotweed coming for us all? Will the kudzu vine
Oh,
ever be pushed back in Appalachia, or
fine.
are we screwed on that one?
I don't have I don't
Not
know.
or not your thing. Not your thing so much.
Not my thing. I'm not like,
Okay.
yeah,
What
not
do
my
I need to
thing.
know about in the world of plant pathology right now? Now that I've proven
Um,
my credibility by at least knowing about the emerald ash borer.
yeah. Uh, that's a good question. I wasn't ready for this one. You need to know. Not all, like, I would say, like, we could go into like organics, like at the grocery store versus like conventional,
Mm,
quote unquote. So non-organic versus organic
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
produce. Is that with organics, especially with like stone crops like peaches and stuff, like there are still like a bunch of antibiotics and stuff that are being sprayed that are approved for organic use. There's a lot of like people think that organics are just like there's no pesticides or at all, but that's not completely true because biologics, so quote unquote pesticides that are approved by the USDA that are biologically based are still approved or for organic use. And so still wash like your organic produce, but also like not all pesticides are bad. And usually there's like a ton of regulation that goes into like how many pesticides you can put onto a crop for like non-organic use that are regulated. And there's a ton of research that has gone into like, you know, these pesticides can be sprayed on these specific crops and there's like a half-life that that chemical has. And so by the time you get it like in the grocery store, then like that pesticide is at like a non-lethal dose, or not lethal, I shouldn't say lethal, but it's like at a non-harmful dose and it has been like thoroughly vetted through like a lot of peer-reviewed research. So don't be afraid of non-organic crops. But
why is organic produce so much more expensive? You try to do the right thing and the environmental thing and buy the things labeled organic and it severely increases your bills. True or false?
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just premiums. Like there's just a lot of like regulation that goes into making sure that something is like USDA organic certified. And so that just costs more for the growers to produce that type of crop, like that is certified organic. So it's just more expensive for the producers, and then that makes it, you know, that goes down the chain and then makes it more expensive for the consumers. But what I'm saying is that like conventional is just as fine. Like just wash your veggies and you'll be okay.
Okay, good to know. I'm going to tell Hallie.
Yeah.
She's not going to totally believe me, but I'm going to ask her to listen to this one.
No, but there are other like, I mean, I understand where Hallie's coming from because I've heard like you talk about like her reasons for wanting to do organics is that like you know, there's other practices with organics that could like lead to less fertilizer use or something like that, where you like do different like what we call quote unquote cultural practices. So it's just like different agronomic practices that maybe don't involve like heavily using fertilizers or heavily using pesticides that could be beneficial for more environmental aspects. So I get both sides. It's just it's very complicated.
Do you work in plant pathology today? Are you using your graduate school education towards your profession right now? Are you still in it?
This is a loaded question.
Because I got a
No,
lot of questions.
I was.
No, you were. Okay.
Yeah. So I was. So I got like my dream job here in Oregon, where I was working as a research plant pathologist. And so like I worked in the lab, in the greenhouse, in the field, and it's like a super, super, super fun job. It was like really my dream job. But I got fired in April.
Doesn't seem like a job one can get fired from. Let go, downsized, sure, but fired is a harsh phrase which denotes something that felt aggressive, and
Yeah,
I'm sorry that whatever happened happened.
Yeah, I was drinking at work.
Oh, that'll do it. That'll do it.
Yeah, and I was discovered. I was caught. So that was going to be another one of my talking points. We talk about recovery, being an alcoholic, and trying to maintain my sobriety. Yeah, so I was drinking at work, like after hours, because I worked at an agriculture station. Like most people would come in like between 6 and 7:30 and then leave in the afternoon. And I would come in around like 8:30 to 9. And then after everyone left, I would sneak drink like White Claws from my desk and would put them in a water bottle and just pretend I was drinking water, but I wasn't. So, and it was lucky that
can I ask how they picked up on it? Oh, you lived.
Well, yeah, I can. I'm okay with being completely open. Yeah, so in April, when this all happened, I went on vacation to Dallas to see the eclipse that happened. And so I was gone for like a week. And during that week, for some reason, they decided they wanted to change the carpet in my office. And I was hiding open containers of alcohol, open cans in my desk drawer. And so they tried moving the desk drawer, and then they saw a bunch of liquid spilling out. And then they opened my drawer and they found my stash. So that was like, yeah. So I just pretty much got booted from the company, even though I was there for like 9 years and like super involved in my work community. I did a bunch of extracurricular things. And they are like a giant company. And even though they would preach that they're like super committed to their employees, and they have a ton of employer research or resources, which includes like, alcohol prevention and recovery. Like they had, actual in their employer research or resources, they had things where like they would help fund you going to rehab and stuff like that. But I got caught, and so I was booted. And even the HR person, that was in my termination meeting, this is what pisses me off so much, is that they told me right before they like signed off of Zoom, because they were remote, they said, yeah, so maybe next time at your next job, just don't let this happen again. And it's like, fuck you.
Yeah, no shit.
That's a non-solution. That's like, so I don't, yeah. But
how long ago did this all go down?
So yeah, I got fired on April 26th. So yesterday was my 6-month, what I say, quote unquote, anniversary of getting fired. And like, again, I went to grad school for this job. And like, this was like my work was like my entire identity, and I would work like, 45 to 50 hours a week. Would work a lot more than I needed to. And so I just invested a lot into this role in this company, and the company just kind of just gave me the shoe. But it's not my coworkers. My coworkers that I had, they've all been like super, super supportive, except for like one person. But so they've met with me, and like they've been just so wonderful, and I couldn't have asked for a better like support group from that, the previous coworker side of my life. So
Yeah.
I feel fortunate that way. But yeah, it was tough, and I was like in bed for 2 months, depressed, and like still drinking, and like hiding it from my husband. And even though my husband knew, I mean, he's not, he knew what was going on. But I would just like watch TV all day in bed, and try to sleep. And that was tough. But then I got into, I'm in like an outpatient program now, and I'm in recovery, and I've had slip ups here and there, but for the most part, I'm back on my feet. I'm actually doing chores around my house, which was really hard to do when I was depressed. So I'm in a lot better spot. It feels really good.
Let's pause, because we got to pause somewhere. Right? It's one of the funny things about this show. Sometimes we get into really emotional conversations, and then I try to sell you a mattress. It's how life works. I didn't invent it. That being said, thank you to the advertisers who allow me to bring these stories to the world. We'll be right back.
At Ritual, we know what goes into the holiday season. The potluck planning, the gift giving, the spreadsheets. So this new year, take a moment for yourself with science-backed support that puts you first. So whether you're focusing on supporting foundational health with a clean vegan multivitamin or supporting your gut health with Symbiotic Plus, do it with 30% off your first month at ritual.com/podcast. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Stop wasting time scrolling through endless clickbait, social media, and emails trying to keep up with the news. Instead, listen to all the news you need in just 10 minutes.
Welcome to The Newsworthy.
The Newsworthy podcast makes it faster, easier, and more enjoyable to get unbiased news on the go.
It helps us navigate the news without feeling overwhelmed.
Even when my time is limited.
So much detail and information in 10 minutes.
Listen now by searching The Newsworthy in your podcast app or go to thenewsworthy.com.
Okay, capitalism is done. Not permanently, just for the sake of this episode. Okay, let's finish off this phone call. It's a very important one to me, and I hope that you get something out of it as well.
So I'm in a lot better spot. It feels really good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't want to dwell on it. I have a couple questions. I don't want to dwell on it too hard because I can hear that it's still really raw. We're only 6 months in.
Yeah.
But I have to say,
I'm also like, I just cry all the time. So like, I'm just like a natural crier. So like, don't feel like you can't ask me questions. So we can go down whatever. You're
already anticipating my guilt when you cry at these questions. Well, here's the thing, because here's what jumps out to me is I go, you and I talked for about 30 to 35 minutes before you let me know about that. And I got to say, I was very surprised because I'm sitting here and I'm like, you're telling me about your ducks in your backyard and you're a homeowner and, you went to grad school and there's, even through the phone, I can hear you sound kind of lovably nerdy. And then when you dropped fired, I went, wait. That's very specific language. That's not downsizing. That's not like anyway, while I was drinking at work. I go, whoa. And my guess is that I'm not the only person who's reacted that way, that this must have been pretty surprising to people.
To everyone in my life, even like I was at an outpatient like group therapy meeting on Wednesday, and I went into the bathroom and I was washing my hands, and then there was like an employee who like worked upstairs who I hadn't seen before. And she was like, "Oh, where do you work?" And I was like, I don't work. And she's like, "You're a client?" And I said, "Yes." She's like, "You don't look like one." And that kind of like jarred me. And I was like, well, what does that mean? One, like that's almost like disrespectful. That seems like she's judging people and like their appearance of, I don't know. But she also works at that place. So it's like, who knows? Like she's probably been, exposed to like a lot of, or a stereotype of individuals who like might fit like what they think,
Well,
a
it's
recovering
judgmental
addict.
in two directions, right? It's judgmental because it creates this cliche stereotype of what she assumes someone dealing with this type of addiction looks like. But then it's also judgmental in the moment in a way that I'm sure stings of, you don't look like one of them, and you're watching her in real time readjust her evaluation of you to pair them with quote unquote them. So it's also judgmental of you in a way that sucks.
I didn't think about it in that way. So thank you.
Sorry to throw that
I'm
in
kidding.
there.
I'm
Sorry
kidding.
to throw that in there. Well, let's talk about it, because look, I'm also somebody who's dealt with addiction, and it's taken on a few forms in my life. And there are people listening right now who totally get it. They've either lived through it or lived close to it, and they understand. And everybody's got their own story, but there's people who on a broad strokes level go, yeah, I get it. But there's a lot of people going, you have a graduate school degree, you got a husband, you got a home, you got pets, you got this life. Why didn't you just stop drinking at work? And I don't, there's, no, I get it. Just feel free. But there's some people, who, some people who like to judge that way, but who I think don't understand, there's people who debate is addiction a sickness or not. And I go, well, I don't want semantics to get in the way of anybody getting help. But what I will say is that I know from personal experience, and it sounds like you have your version of it too, of, I wish I could just not do it. That's part of why. That's part of why I need help. That's part of why it's out of control. That's part of why it's dominating my life, because logically, I understand this is a bad idea. But internally, there's all sorts of things that are leading to me doing it over and over again, and I can't break that pattern. And that's where you can argue it's a disease.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into a debate about the disease language. I know that some of that ties into like AA language, but point being, there's compulsions, there's mental sides of this, there's an internal monologue that doesn't feel like you're totally in control. There's all sorts of versions of this for different people. And I just want to say, sure, you made choices, and sure, it sounds like you met really harsh consequences in relation to your choices. But also, I do want to just say, I don't think it looks a certain way. And I don't think just because you have a grad school degree precludes you from it. And I'm sure it was painful and scary for you at times.
Yeah, it still is, because and you're completely right. I feel like I don't have control over it. And even still, 6 months out, I still obsess over alcohol, and it's just wild to me. My husband has threatened to leave me, and I could lose my house, and I could lose literally everything. But still, why do I still think about, and why do I obsess over this poison? It's literally poison. What it does to your brain, and it shrinks your prefrontal cortex, and so you're not able to rationally think about things and make good decisions. And there's so much evidence and science behind what alcohol does to you mentally, physically, like since I got fired, I've lost 50 pounds. I'm like 5'1". I'm like petite, but like I was so bloated and like I was 50 pounds heavier than I, should have been. And that's what alcohol was just like doing to me. I have like a liver disease as well. And so like I shouldn't have been drinking at all, but I was like lying to my doctors that I was not drinking when I was, even though like my labs were, showing heightened levels of like liver enzymes, and I was diagnosed with like fatty liver disease, and like, but I was just lying to myself, and it was pretty deep. It was a lot there. But it's like, there's so many signs that told me like, just fucking stop drinking. Stop. And that's even like my mom-in-law, like a week after I got fired and after I like told that side of the family, because I've always had a really good relationship with like my husband's side of the family, or we're close to like both sides of our families. But my mom-in-law texted me like a week after I got fired, and she's like, "So, do you have a sponsor through AA yet? Are you sober now?" And it's like, girl, it ain't that easy. And she just doesn't understand why I can't just stop, like, because I'm going to lose it all if I don't stop. And it's like, I can't. I need help.
What kind of help are you getting? You said outpatient, but do you feel like
you
feel like it's helping you kind of reprogram things, helping to create some new pathways? You feel like it's helping at least?
Yeah, it is. And like just connecting with people again, because like when I was drinking, I was just isolating myself from everyone, even my husband. And like I would just like come home from work. I was like super social at work, and I would get my social fix during the day at work, but then I'd come home and then I'd just like watch TV and drink and like not want to engage with my husband, or like anyone else, like my best friends, or like, I would talk to some of my best friends, I don't know, once every like 6 months on the phone or so, or like even like I'm close with my mom and my siblings, and I wouldn't talk to them because I would be drinking. I'd be like slurring my words, and so I'd be hiding, and like, so since then I've been connecting with people, and that's been like just life changing.
Yeah.
And just having that connection. I'm also listening to music more, because I like would just listen to podcasts like almost exclusively, and before now I hadn't like really listened to music in like 5 years or so, when like one of the things my husband and I like really connected over was like our love for like hip hop. And
another surprising thing, and again, people defy categorization, but I did not expect someone who sounds like you and has a degree in plant pathology to say that you met your husband via a shared love of hip hop. Again, breaking stereotypes here.
Yeah. So, but even like things I used to enjoy that like I lost, because like I got, I drowned myself in alcohol, and like now I'm like being more present. And now like even like calling Beautiful Anonymous, it's like I always have wanted to do this, but I never did because I was hiding.
Yes. And like, can I say some things about that?
Yeah.
I've dealt with enough stuff on my own to know, like, when you get to that point where you're hiding stuff, like, it's not cool. And I know that sounds pedestrian, but I say it in a way that's just basic. Like, you and I have enough in common that I know, like, when your life becomes like, can I get away with drinking a half a White Claw and keeping the rest in my desk and maybe tomorrow it won't be totally skunked and I can get back to it, which it sounds like was that part of why there were half full cans in there?
Yeah, I'd open them like when nobody was around, and then
And you're like not
this
dumping
is
them
like
out.
how like compulsive or
Yeah.
impulse. I don't know what the compulsory. I don't know what the right word is, but like I would just like obsess over it, and then like I went down this like, you know, giant rabbit hole of like, oh, I can get away doing this, this, and this, and it was like,
Right. And then you're getting these weird little sick dopamine kicks because you got away with it.
yeah,
But then you also have
yeah,
moments of clarity where you go, I got half full cans of White Claw on my desk at work, and you feel pathetic about that. And you're aware that that's not cool. But then you also get this adrenaline rush of like, nobody realized that that wasn't water in my bottle and I did get away with it. Fuck you, you know? And before, it sounds like you started that sentence. You said, luckily I lived close to work, which makes me sound like there were times where you're even driving and where you must have these moments where you go, I got away with it, versus, holy fucking shit, what am I doing? I'm a smart person. I have a graduate degree. I know better. It is not, when I describe all that for anybody listening, what I hope we can find is there's people out there who want to judge. There's people who want to go, you have everything. Don't throw it away. Put down the bottle. It's easier than you're making it sound. But what I will say is when it comes to hiding, when it comes to chasing the dopamine of getting away with stuff, when it comes to being at this crossroads where a few times a day or a few times a week, you sit here and go, you know, I managed to actually not crack open that can and I'm proud of myself. But then 20 minutes later, I go rushing back and I open it anyway and I hate myself because I was proud. I know that feeling. And I would argue for anybody who goes, just don't open a bottle or don't pick up a can. That's the end of a process. That bottle getting cracked open, that can, you might think that's the beginning of a process. That is the end of a process that reflects a mental state that I would not wish on anybody, and that I would say, fuck you for anybody who wants to judge it as simple or a moral failing that's just don't open the bottle. The amount of choices, the amount of self-hate, the amount of healthy options you have intentionally passed on and kicked yourself for along the way before you even opt into your addiction are already brutal and damaging and shameful and things you want to hide. So fuck anybody who judges, whether they work in a facility, whether they met you yesterday, whether they're a family member. And I can hear from your reaction that there's some truth to it of like, fuck, I know I'm smarter than this. Also, fuck, I'm getting away with this. Screw them. Like, I know that feeling better than people know. Brutal. It's brutal. And you give a piece of yourself away in those moments is what you feel like.
Yeah.
And it's sad and it's empty and it's hollow and it's fucking lonely. And you certainly did make a lot of mistakes, it sounds like, but it also sounds like it's a very real thing that's probably goes back further and deeper than we can get to on an episode of Beautiful Anonymous.
Yeah, you like seriously nailed it. And thank you. Like, I feel very seen, and it's like so many of these conversations that have like dug me out of that hole, like that I've had with people, and like, you know, especially in like my outpatient treatment where like I've met women and men who both have like, they've lost their kids because of their addictions. And like, it took that for them to like go get help. And like, I'm just, if anything, like, I'm just so thankful that I didn't get a DUI. I didn't, you know, I am where I am. And I am seeking help. I'm getting treatment. I'm in recovery. And I feel so thankful for that. And it just meet people where they are, and don't make assumptions about people, and don't judge. You don't know what's going on. Like, the number of people that have opened, because I've been trying to like be super open about what's been going on in my life, and there's so many people who have said, like, and like a lot of my friends who have also like graduate degrees or PhDs or masters or, like, you know, high functioning, like, there's a lot of people who are struggling out there, who feel like they need to like put on this facade. And like, the more I'm opening up, the more I'm realizing that like people are struggling with mental health. They're on meds. They are struggling with alcohol, and they're trying to cut back, or like, we're all out there.
Yeah.
We're not alone. That's what I've really learned, even though I felt so alone.
And I'll tell you another thing is, when you tell me about like the work situation and how it felt so clinical and quick, and just some of the coworkers stepped up, but the actual company went, here's our protocol, you're out. What's that? That feels like they fucking gave up on me after 9 years, just like that quick. They played by the rule book. They gave up on me. You're saying your husband is threatening to leave. That feels like another person giving up on you. Now, let's be fair. Also sounds like your husband's life has been thrown into disarray in a way that I'm sure you can take a deep breath and go, yes, let me get to fucking work on fixing it. Because like, there's culpability, there's responsibility there. I'm not pretending to know all about that, and I'm not pretending to let you off the hook. But that being said, I'm not trying to pretend I'm an expert. All I can speak to is lived experience, which is, your work might give up on you. People in your life might judge you. Friends might give up on you. Your husband has said that he might need to be out, and that's going to feel like he gave up on you. If that sad day ever happens, I hope it doesn't. But I also know the voice of addiction enough to know that every time someone else gives up on you, it's a chance for that fucking internal monologue to get a little fucking demonic and go, why don't you just give up on yourself too? And that's the crossroads. That's where, you know, I remember thinking a lot about, you know, for me, my addiction tied in so much to my depression. And I remember thinking so much about how my depression wanted to win. My depression was trying to win. When other people would tell me they were scared or concerned about my behavior, I would cut those people out or lash out at them or push them away, because then my depression could go, see, they don't have your fucking back. You're alone. Go do something crazy. Go do something dangerous. Point being, like, I can hear you're still so deeply in it. And again, I am not trained in this. I am just reacting to you human to human. And I just want to encourage you. Everyone else in the world might give up on you. Please, please, please don't ever use that as an excuse to give up on yourself. Just try as hard as you can to commit to that idea of, even if you have some lapses along the way, even if you screw up again, even if you screw up bigger than you've screwed up in the past, when it comes right down to it, I've been in situations where a lot of people around me have thrown their hands up and walked away because I made it impossible for them to do otherwise. And I'm still here today because I never quite gave up on myself. And I hope you don't give up on yourself either.
Thank you. I think I'm on the other side of that. But back in like May, I was starting to cut myself and I should have said like trigger warning, but
I can do that in the intro after I plug 19 stand-up shows. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
Come see me in Philadelphia, and also trigger warning for self-harm, everybody. Feel like an asshole every time. Anyway, everybody, I'm doing Littlefield in Brooklyn, and also here's the saddest shit you ever heard on Beautiful and Honest. Believe me, everybody, I know. I get it. We're going to let this one go long. The buzzer just went off, but I want to talk to you for a few more minutes.
Okay. Yeah.
As long as you're into it. Or you can go get
I'm
me the fuck off this
completely
phone.
into it. Yeah. No. Yeah. So, yeah, May was bad. Was real bad. But then like, I see like August as like a turning point. My friend got married in Colorado. She's a professor at Colorado State, in plant pathology. We're like best friends, and we went through grad school together. But that was my first sober wedding in my adulthood.
The big
was
one
her
right
wedding.
there, right? That's a big one.
Huge. And I was a fucking mess.
Was it an open bar? Was it an open bar?
Yeah. Yep. And
You
people
showed
were
up,
like,
you traveled?
let's take shots.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everybody's
I
screaming about
traveled.
shots, and then you're sitting there, you're going, oh,
Like,
that shit is free.
It's like, fuck. So I went to the bathroom and sat myself on the toilet, even though I didn't have to use the bathroom, but I was just hiding. And
turns out me and you
I was
have
like
one shared coping mechanism at the very least.
Yeah, going into the bathroom and hiding.
Nobody's allowed to bother you. Nobody's allowed to bother you if they think you're pooping. You are alone with your thoughts. That and the extra long shower. Have you done the extra long shower yet?
No, I don't really like showering.
This is one of the other places where people are not allowed to bother you. And you can also, like, if your husband knocks on the door, you can just go, I got lady stuff, and he will not ask another question, and you'll get that extra 90 seconds just to get your goddamn head together.
Well, that's a bit complicated because I used to hide my alcohol in the bathroom, like underneath the sink, and so I'd just drink in the shower. So that's
wild. Oh, so he's worried. He's also just scared and worried.
Yeah. He loves me. I mean, he's so supportive, and like he's stuck around because he loves me so much, and he's like an amazing human being, and he's my person. And I'm just so grateful that he's like stuck with me, even though like it seems like my mom-in-law has been like telling him like it's the worst time. It's the worst time. And I'm just so grateful that he's stuck it out with me. Because he's so like fiercely loyal. Yes. Yeah. And
then you also got to try to hear that and try not to hate your mother-in-law for it. And remember, she's just being a mama bear too. She's being a mama bear. Her perspective is, this is my kid. Yep. And it's probably hard for you to not feel abandoned or attacked or hate in reaction to that. But you also got to sit there and go, oh, fuck, you know? How did it get to that? Because
that's been so hard. Yeah. And because her and I have always been like pretty close. Like we would text each other, you know, and stuff, but like we haven't texted since I think like June, when she told me like the ball is now in your court. That was like the last thing she like texted me, and it's just like, fuck, that's heavy. That makes me feel like it makes me feel so shameful and guilty, and like brings up so many negative emotions. So I've just not been talking to her, even though like this is another whole thing, is that she has like a benign tumor in her brain that's like the size of a softball, and it's been really scary for the family too. But luckily it's benign. That she's getting brain surgery next month. But I haven't talked to her and like,
What would happen if you picked up the phone and called her?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I've been really scared to do that. And my husband and I like last week had a conversation where I like told him like, I feel like your family hates me because his siblings and like my siblings-in-laws and like the whole side of the family hasn't like really been including me like in the family chat, or like I've been talking with them as much as I used to, and it feels like I'm being shut out. And I miss them so much. But maybe I need to make some moves and just try to call them and reach out.
Might be time, because look, 6 months ago, you're getting fired from a job and you're secretly drinking in the shower. But then in the past 6 months, you went to a fucking wedding with an open bar and it didn't break you. So
Yeah.
fuck it. Fuck people's judgment.
Yeah, basically.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And is, you know, and again, I will say, again, I don't know how long we're going to go. For everybody listening, I don't know how long we're going to go. And we'll do something behind the paywall, but I'm not going to do like 5 random questions. We'll figure out something for this week, either you and I or something separate. But this one got serious in a way I don't think either of us was totally anticipating. But I would just say, too, like, you know, I have been a person who others in my life were scared about how I was turning out. I've been a person who has been the one who dragged other people into my stuff and had to feel guilty about it forever. I've also been around other people as they were doing that. And I've also, so I got the perspective on both sides where I can say, like, here's my guess is his family doesn't hate you. His family's just really scared. And they're, you know, however old you guys were when you got together, they spent how many years before where they cared about him. So ultimately they care about him and they are scared. They are scared. But at the same time, you're sitting here and going, I'm not scary. I'm alone. And believe me, like the version of me that was the flashpoint for all this fear, nobody's more scared of that version of me than me.
Yeah.
And I need help and I need love and I need support, you know? Like who's more scared of that out of control addict side of your personality than the other half of your brain? Nobody. Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, they're scared. They're scared for their sibling. They're scared for their kid. They're scared. And you're able to understand that. But there's also got to be a way to reach out and go, I'm not going to claim I'm out of the woods yet, but I'm doing a lot better. And I know I scared the shit out of you, but I also know that we were close and I want to know how you're doing. And I want to be able to tell you how I'm doing. And I want you to know that I'm going to try to stop freaking. I'm working really hard to not fucking freak you out anymore. Like that's a conversation you could have today if you felt like it. And it will not be easy, but it needs to happen. And I have a feeling it might need to be a thing that happens through you and through your strength, which people will demand more of than they deserve. And at times you will not be able to summon, but just to put it out there.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I haven't opened up to many people about like the side of the family and how they're reacting to me. So this is like kind of new, like perspective and advice I'm gaining. So thank you.
I'm just shooting from the hip on this one. But yeah, they're probably freaked out. They're probably hearing about chaos and they're forgetting about the good times. There's probably some of them that are a little more inflammatory or ignorant than others in reacting to it. But the sooner you rebuild that bridge, the sooner you can stop worrying about this one, because it's one of the things you've brought up as kind of being a thing that's still bleeding, you know?
Yeah. Good perspective. Thank you. I hadn't thought about it that way.
Thanks for opening up to me too. You know, it's pretty clear looking at the course of our call that you weren't necessarily planning on diving into all this.
Yeah, kind of. I knew I was going to talk about like sobriety, but I didn't think I was going to go, this deep into it. But I'm glad I did. Yeah, it felt good and like cathartic, like to through this shit. And that's like how recovery has been. It's like you have to get through the shit in order to feel good. And like the more shit I get through, the better I feel. Yeah, but it's hard. Like nobody likes walking in shit. So
No, they don't. No,
and
they
I
do
can tell
not.
you that because my ducks shit all over my backyard and I have to wear shoes in order to go into my backyard. So I know from experience.
I'll tell you something else from my experience. And I don't know. I'm also, I also went into comedy. So this might be more unique to me. But I sit here and I go, I mean, we're 6-7 months out. You are in it. But I feel like you've got such a good, you're so clearly a smart person. You so clearly have kindness at your core. You so clearly want to get things back on track in a way that they went off track. And I think you will be surprised at how soon you laugh at some of this stuff. That you will feel empowered sooner than you think. And when you feel empowered, you will start to laugh at it. And it will go from being this like looming thing that puts all this pressure on you to this thing that you're laughing at because you own it and it does not own you. And I bet there's going to be some stories where you sit there and you're like, I'm never telling anyone that one. And it will be way sooner in your life that you think that you own up to it and tell someone that story and you're not horrified to tell it. You're actually laughing. That's my guess.
I hope so.
Own this shit. It does not own you. You own it.
Oh, I hope so. I really hope so. Yeah. I'm kind of getting there with some things, like opening up to people about, like, especially like sneak drinking and how like there have been a few people who have opened up to me about like they have done that too. And again, you're not alone.
Oh, listen. Comment sections on the internet are not an easy thing. The Beautiful Anonymous Facebook group tends to be a very gentle, chill version of it. But you just bringing up like, oh, other people have admitted to me that they've snuck a drink, or do you know how many times? I mean, I'm the parent of a 5-year-old. Do you know how many times I'm at a literal school function and realized that adults have water bottles full of wine, or we're at like a soccer practice and you realize that? Do you think if you're sitting here going, man, I snuck drinks, that's a deep shame. Listen, there's going to be people out there going, yeah, I did that shit too. I still do it sometimes. If I'm lying, if I'm being honest, and I'm not going to lie, I'm just really, really lucky it never developed into a problem for me. 1000%. It's the other thing, you sit here, you go, man, I've already been caught for all this, but they don't even know the really dark stuff. And then the really dark stuff, you finally tell people and they go, oh, I thought it was going to be a lot worse than that.
Yeah. Yep.
I bet that's already started. It sounds like that chuckle has already started to happen.
Yeah, it has. It's like, again, it goes back to like, you're not alone. Like people just don't talk about this shit. And like, why don't we, like, I don't know. So we don't live in tribes anymore, right? We're like so isolated and like in our own homes and like
staring at our fucking phones. A subway, 100 people on a subway car together, and no one makes eye contact with another human being the whole time. That's bizarre. It's bizarre.
Yeah. Even like giving someone a smile or like just making eye contact or just like nodding to someone and being like, hi. Just simple hi. Yeah. So it's just bizarre, and it's changing like the way our relationships work. And like another talking point I had was like, I don't know if you know who Esther Perel is, but she has like a whole bunch of content on like modern relationships and like how now we're so isolated, and whereas we used to like live in communities and you knew your role within the community, and then now it's like we're by ourselves, and like maybe, you know, we needed that community, but we're hiding. And so I just like really identified with that and like my isolation that I was, you know, going through, and when I was still drinking, and it was easier to do that. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing.
I know we do have to wrap up, but I just want you to know you're not alone. You're not alone. And
Thank you.
And there's so many people out there dealing with it in a heavy way right now. So many people dealing with it in a heavier fashion than you and I could ever conceive of. There's so many people who have seemingly everything going for them in a way you and I envy, and they're dealing with it. I can tell you, you know, not to make it about me, but I sit here, I go, I have not had alcohol in, at this point, 23 years, and I still sometimes want to grab a drink. And I will tell you, I still only want to grab a drink when I'm pissed off or when I'm feeling depressed, and I only ever want to drink alone. And that's why I never tried drinking again. Because I've never had a desire to drink to fit in at a party. People go, oh, don't you wish that you also just had a drink at a party? You're the only one holding a soda. I go, I've never felt awkward about that. I've absolutely had times where I go, I just want to go sit at a bar in a different town where no one will recognize me and get fucked up by myself. And that's why 23 years in, I go, I'm not cracking this goddamn door open. But I bring that up not to scare you. I heard you let out a little gasp and I feel bad about that. But to sit there and go, I can tell you my personal experience was with drinking was I would drink myself into oblivion, and I recognized it from members of my family. I went, oh, I'm one of these drinkers, is not good. And I figured out I just stopped drinking as a kid, 21 years old. I hadn't even graduated college yet, and I dried out, and I'm not going to claim that it's going to go away, that you're not going to feel those moments where you want to dive back in and you want to burn it all down and you want to say fuck it. And you know, we're not going to get into it now, and nor is it, you know, I wouldn't feel totally appropriate. But you sit here, you go, this is not because you love the taste of White Claw. Behavior like this is because you got some shit in your gut that goes back to way before you ever picked up a drink. Drinking gave you something that's helping you deal with shit. And that's how it is for a lot of us, you know? And maybe it's not true with you. I don't know. I don't presume to know, but I go, when it's this self-destructive and it's this cyclical, this is related to bigger picture shit, and I had to sort that out myself as well. Point being, that urge has never totally gone away from me. I still recognize it as a dangerous thing in my personality. It still kind of freaks me out sometimes, and it's 23 years, but I got a nice little house and a nice little life, and that doesn't get to interfere with those things. I'm the boss of it. It's not the boss of me. On my best days, that's still true. And on my worst days, I still have to fight through some shit. But it's not what it was. And you can, and you're already taking steps down that path. And like I said, I have no training to speak about this. There are experts who will probably point out a million things I said wrong, but all I want to get across to you is, at the very least today, you're not alone because you're on the phone with me, and I can sit here and tell you, I get it. I get it.
Thank you. That just means so much. Like, feeling like I'm seen, and like there are examples of other people who can get through it, and not sugarcoating things either. And yeah, it means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah. And you can't, I mean, you're only 6 months in, you're still processing it, but there's all these people wary right now, or all these people cut you off. Please understand, like,
hang on.
They're scared.
Wait, Geth.
Did you hang up?
Oh, no. Where did she go? Hold on. I can call her back. Hold on.
Wait, did she hang up or did you accidentally hang up?
No, I accidentally. I was hovering. Oh, no, I didn't. Oh, she's in the queue. Hold on, she's back. No, she's back. Hold on,
Andrea,
she's back.
Andrea leaving.
No, I got her back. Hello?
After we talk.
Oh my gosh. I thought Andrea just like hung up on me.
Oh, guess what? Andrea did hang up on you. After you and I sit here and talk about how badass she is at being a producer, she hangs up at our friend who's just recently emerged from the world of alcoholic crisis and said, and now you're out. I got shit to do. Sorry, I got to go play Pokemon Go or whatever the fuck it is Andrea does. And Andrea Smith, peace out.
Oh my God.
Good luck. Good luck. Andrea did hang up on you. After we sit here 15 minutes into Andrea's amazing. She cross-referenced what I said on New Jersey is the world. You're like, she can do anything. Yeah, you know what else she can do? Hang up on your ass.
Done. That's it. Jesus. Like we're having a good moment together, and then all of a sudden it's like beep, beep, beep.
Yeah. And then Andrea goes, oh, sorry. Wawa's having a sale on soft pretzels. I got to run out the door.
Oh, gosh. Okay, well.
We should say goodbye, but I was just finishing the thought of the people there's people in your life right now. They've made choices. Not all those relationships are going to bounce back. Some of them are just fucking scared, though. And I think you might be able to say, like, hey, guys, like, I'm really happy to tell you that, like, at least right now I'm in a stretch where I have enough clarity to tell you, like, I get that I scared the shit out of you, and I don't think that right now you need to be that scared. And
thank you.
And I got a lot of stuff to fucking talk it about, and I know not everybody's going to let me in right away, but at the very least right now, the thing that's going to help me help you is, like, just don't be freaked out. I get it. I freaked you out. I get it.
Yeah.
Sorry. Like,
yeah, I hadn't thought about like that perspective at all. So I appreciate that. I would like to submit a question. I'm one of the Touchtone members. You know,
we can do if you want to do the 5 questions. We can. I would
love to, but like I feel I don't want to like take your guys' time if you have other.
Why don't we do this? We're gonna go behind the paywall. Everybody, beautifulanonymous.com. Also, before we say goodbye, I just want to say this one got really heavy. I didn't see it coming. You weren't certain how heavy it was going to get. This is nothing to feel bad about with this show, certainly, but also just for everybody out there, keep in mind, you did hear me talk about fighting really hard to stay on top of this stuff. You heard our caller talk about being in treatment. Point being, there are many, many resources for help if you're struggling. And I think, caller, you and I would both say, like, go now. If you know you need help, don't wait for rock bottom. Don't wait for them to find the cans in the desk. Don't wait until you almost drop out of college like I did. Don't wait until you got everybody in your life. Don't wait until your family's going, I don't even know if we can talk to you because this is chaos. If you know you need help right now, get the help before rock bottom, and you can save yourself a lot of the anguish that we heard in our caller's voice today. Caller, would you agree with that?
Yes, completely. And then also, like, I'm actually on like an Oregon grant that is paying for all of my outpatient treatment. So there are other like
amazing
like financial resources that are out there if you just ask. And so if you do find like an outpatient or inpatient treatment, just ask if there are financial resources available. And it doesn't hurt to ask. And
then people sit here and they go, oh man, Bernie Sanders is a socialist. Yeah, I want grant funding. I want government funding to get people who are headed down dark roads find the help they need. Yes. Yeah. Call me if that makes me a socialist. Fine, shut up. Get people help. Anyway, You and I are going to go do the 5 questions, and I have to say,
Okay.
I'm so glad that you're into doing them. I wasn't going to force it. Is that a goddamn duck?
Yeah, sorry. My duck is like,
This is wild.
there's one duck who, like, she gets so mad if, like, she doesn't have wet food in her bowl, and so they are pets. They're, like, the bougiest ducks that you've probably ever seen. So
I can't believe it came full circle to a pissed off, high maintenance duck.
Yeah. She came up to me and was like, "Excuse me, I don't have food." And so
we're going to go do the 5
so
questions. I think this week, you know what we'll do? We'll probably keep it a little quicker because the call went long.
Sure.
And if it asks you the poop one, I'm so sorry ahead of time. Anyway, everybody, beautifulanonymous.com.
Oh, no, I have some.
Caller, thank
I'm
you
ready for that question.
honest.
So.
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Caller, so sincerely, thank you for being open, for being honest, for trusting me, for trusting this community with your story. You are in it right now. You are not alone in it. And I have a feeling I'm not the only person who's going to hear this and tell you that. And I hope you just never give up on you. I really am rooting for you so hard. Thank you for calling. And thank you to Andrea Quinn for everything you do for the show, including our production. And I will not make another joke about your hanging up in the middle of the sentence. I will not even bring it up. Okay, our theme song is by Shellshag. Thank you, Shellshag. Go to punchup.live/Chris Gethard if you want to see me on the road. Also, we have a voicemail line. It's 973-306-4676. We have an Instagram at Beautiful Anonymous Pod. We also have a Facebook group, Beautiful Anonymous, the community. It's really lovely in there. Join, check it out, comment, enjoy. Thanks for listening, everybody. This week on Beautiful Anonymous Plus, here's some of what you'll get from the 5 questions. Okay, we're going to start you with the most recent question, and then we're going to do 4 random ones. Like I said, probably everybody, thanks for subscribing. I think everybody listening will understand. I hope you don't feel shortchanged. This one is quick, but the call did go almost half an hour longer than a normal call. To be fair, part of that is because Andrea decided to weirdly flex and just hang up on this caller, a caller who I might argue is maybe one of the most emotionally raw callers in the history of the show. And then Andrea sits here and goes, I'm a pragmatist. I don't let emotions dictate. We are over time. Click. Goodbye.
I mean, she's the high priestess.
The high priestess. You didn't even hear the part. She cut out the part, everybody. And this is true. There is audio that Andrea edited out where I said, why did you hang up on her? And Andrea said, simply put, the buzzer has gone off. I play by the rules, motherfucker. I said, we have to get her back online. She said, I'm the high priestess, not you. I said, what do I have to do to get that caller back on the line? And she said, bow down to my altar and pray. So she cut that part out. Okay, everybody? So Andrea is not the saint that you all think she is. She made me pray at the altar of the high priestess in order to get our caller back on the line today. And it was honestly kind of weird. Don't forget to sign up for Beautiful Anonymous Plus at beautifulanonymous.com.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.